I'm Josh,
I'm Michelle.
and this is Little Bandology, episode 5.
5 already.
5 already. 5 already. It is the night before UIL marching contest. It's kind of like the night before Christmas. You don't sleep, but for different reasons.
But way more nerves.
Yeah. And if you do sleep, you have weird dreams, or at least I do.
So for those of you that are listening from outside of Texas, UIL is our governing authority over everything that happens in Texas, really academics, sports, band, theater, like all the things. And
Mhm.
so our big contest every year is our UIL contest.
Yes.
And it's what determines whether we advance further in competition
Yes.
each year.
It also determines if you're eligible for an award they call the Sweepstakes Award. And that award is not only for marching, it also includes a concert and sight reading portion. So it's 3 different evaluations.
You have to get a first division at all 3.
Yes. And then you get a UIL Sweepstakes trophy. It's the big one, it's the one everyone wants. And so this is the first step for all the bands in our region, Region 21. And our contest it's a long day. It's a whole Saturday. We are the first ones.
9:15
a.m. That's a 6 a.m. run through call.
We have to be at the band hall at 5:30.
5:30. It's going to be early.
But the last band of the contest doesn't
It's
perform until
10
p.m., right? Isn't
I
it
think
12 hours?
I think it's 9:45. But it's long.
It's crazy. I don't want to be on that judging panel because that would be a fat check.
Yeah, it would be because for UIL judging, past how many hours is it?
I can't even remember.
But they give you
6,
overtime.
But that could be wrong.
Yeah, they just voted last year before last, to give overtime, and so that check, it'd be nice,
right?
But that's a lot of bands.
It is.
And just to show
it's gonna
you,
be exhausting.
Well, and just to show you how many bands there are our size in 2A schools, we start at 9:15. The last 2A band does not march until 1:15.
So 4 full hours of 2A bands.
So if you're ever wondering saturation of small school where we are, it is very saturated
We have
with
a
small
lot.
schools. Matter of fact, I think there's only 5 or 6 5A.
Many fewer large schools.
So we get to go to Longview and march in Lobo Stadium,
Home
which
of
is
the
a great place.
The big green marching machine. Is that
Yeah.
right? Or the mean green marching machine?
I don't know. They do the Rockin' L,
Which is really cool.
I just really love to see.
If we only had enough kids.
We could do like the Rockin' I. We could maybe.
That's it.
So
Just
when
one
we do,
column.
Yeah, one column. We do playoff games, and we don't do a new drill. We go out and play stand trash really loud, and people love it. But we do a bee on the field, but we really don't have enough kids to
Much
really.
like a bee.
It looks like, I don't know, kind of an amoeba.
We would have as much luck trying to make a bear cat on the field.
Yeah, we could. We might as well
It
just
would
spell out
probably look the
BHS
same.
and
No, that
single
actually
lines.
might be easier.
I don't know. And let me tell you, this week has been eventful. So in military, we do these things called counter marches, and it basically takes the band one step over and sends them the other direction. And one of the risks of this maneuver is if your spacing is incorrect.
Collisions. You have collisions.
Luckily, we have not had collisions at all this year.
Yes.
Until
this past Tuesday
our
night.
Tuesday night before contest, and it just so happened to be between a sousaphone, which one of our sons is playing, and a baritone that the other son was playing.
So twin brothers collided.
Yes. The sad part is the baritone player is also a horn player. And in our show, we're doing the trio to the Klaxon by Fillmore. And if you know that march, or if you're a fan of Fillmore, that is a very horn-forward trio. So we're bringing out the horns and doing a cool feature. He couldn't play. And he's probably our best horn
He had
player.
the fattest lip I've ever seen.
Now, and he, bless his heart, he got my genes. We have huge lips. It's just what we were given genetically. But half his face was bigger than the other
And
half
his
of
big
his
old bruise. He
face.
still has a little bit of a bruise.
And he still has a little bit of a gash underneath. It's healed a lot. Today was the first day I allowed him. This was on Tuesday. The collision happened. Today was the first day that I allowed him to try to play, and he started playing this morning.
And it was a mess.
And he was like, oh. And then, but the longer he played, the easier it got. Well, I told him, you got to take a break. Major athletes, after an injury, they do a little bit, they rest, they do a little bit, they rest. And he came home this evening after taking quite a bit of rest and got out his horn and just played the snot out of it.
Yeah.
And it was, he was doing lip trills.
I think he
And,
was in his head this morning, too. I think he was nervous about playing for
Yeah.
the first time after it happened.
But he's ready to go. He's ripping and snorting and ready to go for our
Yeah.
contest tomorrow. So, but things happen and you just have to roll with it.
Right. Well, and
And,
then yesterday, a transformer blew right outside
my
of the
gosh.
school.
Yeah, we were marching during the band period and had a good rehearsal. Rehearsals before contests can go one of two ways. You either have just a productive, positive rehearsal, or, oh my gosh, we're going to explode rehearsal. I don't think there's a middle ground, at least not there is with me. And they had a good, productive, positive rehearsal.
And we had one of our mentors there. And they always
Yes,
work a little
and that
harder
was
when he's
exciting.
there, so.
And he was telling them all the things, and we start to head in, and they said, oh, the transformer blew, and we're getting we have construction going on at our school right now. Matter of fact, they're building us a new band hall, which is very exciting, and we'll probably talk about that in future episodes when it's about time to move in. But the transformer that they were running, the electricity to the new transformer that runs the new building exploded. It smelled like burn.
Yeah, it was bad. So they had
Electric
to
burn.
reroute all the kids, and
Half the electricity was off, and it was really weird.
yeah, so
Half
yeah,
our
when-
lights,
When we went in, our office electricity was out.
well,
but
just the lights.
our copy machine was still
Yes.
working. About 2 rows of our ceiling lights were out.
Mhm.
Our air conditioning was
Oh, yeah.
out.
Yes, that was not
And
good.
so we were like, well, I mean, I guess we can still make this work. We checked the auditorium, and it still had electricity, and it still had air conditioning. So
and it's right next door to the
yeah,
band
so we
hall,
decided
so.
we would just try to move class into there.
Yes.
Because, you get a bunch of kids blowing hot air into instruments. It gets really hot if you don't have air conditioning. So
Mm-hmm.
we were going to move into there so it would be more comfortable. And as we are moving stuff over, starting to get the setup done, electricity goes out
all of it.
completely.
Everybody. Like in the band hall, the auditorium, all of it.
The whole building that we're in
So we had a class of 6th graders
at that time.
at that time. So we went outside and hung out. We have this little gazebo outside, so we went and hung out. And then our 7th grade, we rerouted to our football field so they could get their wiggles out because we couldn't play.
Right.
And then we let the last period just kind of hang out in the dark, and there were flashlights. It was complicated, but it was fine. We made it to the end of the day. And about 2:00, we get the announcement, no school on
school
Friday,
today, the day
day
before
before.
contest.
So we immediately announced, hey, we're going to have a rehearsal, and just crossed our fingers that everybody was going to be there. And we only were missing two.
Just 2. We had one that was late,
Oh, yeah.
but
So
otherwise we were missing,
we're
we were just
missing two. I figured that's a marching band miracle.
Right.
When you call a rehearsal, everybody showed up. They had a good rehearsal. We'll see them all at
Able to do a couple things that will make our lives easier at 6:00 in the morning.
yes.
And
And
it's still dark outside. We're gonna
Yeah.
have to turn on the stadium lights for our run through.
oh wow, we are.
It's gonna be dark.
That's crazy. But I will say this: our booster club is fantastic, and they are going to show up early and feed the kids breakfast and give them lots of love before they go and tell them how awesome they are, and do everything they can to make sure these kids feel comfortable and confident when they get on that bus.
Yeah, we love our booster club.
We do, and
We're very spoiled.
we are. And I've been in, well, we've both been in a lot of school districts. And a lot of times the success of the band is at the hand of who your parents are and what they're willing to do. And we've both been in huge booster clubs. I taught in a school very briefly that maybe had 5 parents that did everything. And
And that's kind of how Beckville was when we first got
Yeah,
there.
we had probably 5 to 10 parents.
So now we have an arsenal of parents.
We
And they
do.
work there.
Something that our boosters do is they run the concession stand Friday nights. And I remember early in my tenure at Beckville, they couldn't find anybody. And now
Like, to the
they
point where
turn people away.
They were worried they were going to have to give it up because
Yeah.
there weren't enough people to work it. But
And something that's great about our booster club, and that's not what our episode's about, but
no.
I love talking about our parents. And I'm sure a lot of you have wonderful experiences with parents and booster clubs too. So be sure to comment on our Facebook page and tell us about it, and we'll give you a shout out in an episode. We give scholarships. They pay for. We're taking a band trip in January, and to Florida, the pivotal Disney Universal trip, and they're paying for our buses
And
you know,
they were able to
to kick in money for the kids
students out a
too.
little
So
bit, yeah.
so that's 40 grand in this little bitty 2A school, and it can be done. It's not easy. It's a lot of work, but being positive and being in an environment where people want to be helps that along for sure. Now, the thing that we wanted to talk about in this particular episode is because mostly it's contest, and typically when it gets close to contest or really any time of the year, you can get bogged down with what's ahead and really get overwhelmed. I know that especially when I was a young teacher, I remember the first year I went to marching contest as a head director. I remember that I don't remember how they did. I don't remember anything.
I mean, that was also before the boys were born.
This is true.
So 16 years ago, that's.
I'm not that old. There's no way.
But I mean, I don't remember a lot of stuff that
I
happened
remember
16
I
years
remember
ago.
wearing an orange tie and a black suit and telling my kids they got a 1. I mean, they did well, but I don't remember the performance at all. And typically, even at you'll have to excuse our coughs and sniffles.
Yeah,
It's
sorry,
that time,
it's that time of year.
It is. Everybody sort of has their tick or their thing that gets them. Michelle tends to stand very still like a statue on the sideline and sort of pick everything apart and engage how everything's going by sight. I pace like I'm waiting for a child to be born. I mean, it's really ridiculous. I probably pace from the 20 to the 20 on the track back and forth and look up just briefly, and I do more listening than watching. And the kids make fun of me, and I don't care. I mean, I just don't know how to stand still. But I know I can tell their confidence level by how they sound to me. But anyway, it's easy to get bogged down with those things and to only think about that. It is important that you have other avenues to take your mind off of being at work all the time. Now, when you're young, I remember putting in extra hours at work all the time, and it didn't seem like it was a big deal.
But also, like, we didn't, like, when we first started teaching, not having kids, we were at the band hall a lot more. Having children really changes that
it does
a lot.
Matter of fact, I remember when we started teaching, we lived in Texarkana, which is like, for those of you that don't know Texas geography, Texarkana is part of Texas and Arkansas.
And Louisiana.
It's like all wrapped up right there. They actually have State Line Road is like one side of the road is Arkansas, one side of the road is Texas.
Right.
But we lived in a little suburb called Wake Village, or part of Texarkana called Wake Village. And Michelle would drive to Queen City,
which was south,
25 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't
ish.
too far.
And I would drive 40 minutes west to DeKalb, which was only 15 minutes from the Oklahoma border.
Right.
So we were pretty far north in Texas.
Without being in the Panhandle.
Being in the Panhandle, yeah. Really, tornado country is where it was.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
but
the
anyway,
tornadoes.
we knew we both had Monday night rehearsals, and I usually had Tuesday night rehearsal.
Yeah.
A lot of times, too.
I know you had an extra rehearsal that I didn't normally have.
And so we wouldn't see each other till Wednesday.
Right.
And we were so tired.
It would still be late in the evening.
Yeah, because we would teach.
I had sectionals on Wednesday nights.
And so really, we didn't see each other very often at all. And Saturdays, we were at contests. And we would wave at each other passing as our bands passed each other at contests.
We both had bands that were very active in the contest circuit. And starting at the end of September, like first weekend of
all of Bandtober
October,
was a big deal.
It was
every
a lot.
Saturday.
We don't do that as much here where we are now.
No, we typically do 2, maybe 3 contests, and that's including UIL.
Right.
And if we advance from UIL, we go to state marching contest, which is military states in Waco at McLean Stadium, part of the National Association of Military Marching Bands. They run that. But anyway, it's easy to get bogged down. So you have to have something that is healthy to replace that. And I've known band directors who have gone the unhealthy route. Try to find other things to keep you occupied and excited and inspired. I think that a lot of when you're just in your little bubble of band, you're missing out on opportunities to be inspired that are going to help you and help your students. And if you're not good mentally, your students are going to be able to tell, and you're not going to get the best from them.
Definitely.
And you're not going to be able to help them because they're going to come to you. A lot of times, a band director's office becomes a confessional. Students tell you things they don't tell you anybody else, and a lot of times you don't want to know, but you have to have a safe way to do that. Something that we do several things.
I think though we have one big thing.
We have one big thing. We are very big into theater. We have a local community theater, Henderson. I've been doing stuff since '99. That was a long time.
Gosh, old.
I am.
But I did my first show there when we were dating.
We were
in
dating.
2003.
And our kids have grown up there.
Yes.
And 7 years ago, I helped start a children's theater that's run out of it, and we do 2 shows a year. And I serve as artistic director. Michelle serves on the board of this little theater. That's sort of our escape.
It's our outlet.
So if we have a bad day at school, but we've got a rehearsal that night or a performance, or we're going to see a performance, a lot of times that will take that stress a little bit off. Now, that comes with its own set of stresses, but I don't consider, I mean, it's not a job.
Right.
You do the best
It's
you can
much
and you have
easier
fun.
to say no.
Yes, it's
for
very
that
much easier to
because
say
it's not-
no.
Our job isn't dependent on it.
Yes.
It's just something fun, and our kids love it. So it's something that we can do as a family. Just it's just a lot of fun to be a part of something other than band.
Yes. And that's basically what we've been doing forever. And people ask us all the time, I don't know how you do so much.
We just do.
We just do the
And
best
honestly,
we can.
Like we've gotten flack for it before.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe that you're doing stuff at that civic theater. Like, what about your job? Well, I mean, the job only goes to a certain time.
This is true.
And it's we don't have to be there all the time. And guess what? Our bands are still pretty successful, even though we're not there all the time. You don't have to live, eat, breathe everything band to still be successful. You just it's not a negative thing to do other stuff
And to enjoy it and to bring other people into it. We typically, if we're doing a show or have a show, we'll bring band kids in and they can come and sit and watch a dress rehearsal for free and get loads of ammo to make fun of me. And that's okay. And we do it because we enjoy it and we like getting that extra outlet. Sometimes a good evening play rehearsal can erase a bad day.
Oh yeah, for certain.
Or watching other people realize things in a rehearsal can take away a bad day. But something else we do, we also play our instruments still.
Yeah.
We do. There's a group called the East Texas Symphonic Band that has been around for a while.
Really long time.
And it's been it's based out of Longview, and they've gotten loads of accolades. Performed at the Texas Bandmasters Association convention. They performed at a huge convention in Richardson this past summer.
It was like the Association of
Community bands or something like
bands or
that. But it's a
something,
big deal. There's actually a national conference that they send people to every summer too. They go and play as part of those bands. But I play bass trombone. Michelle plays bass clarinet. And
now
they do
the boys are playing in it
both
too,
the
which is cool
boys.
that we get to participate in that together. Sutton just sits in the back by Josh and
Yeah,
plays on her
Sutton-
computer or
yeah.
iPad or whatever.
Yeah, Sutton is she's not quite old enough yet, so they let her hang out there by me and don't give me a hard time about it. And we play a variety of music and it's fun. And we're there with other band directors. We're there with other students.
Yeah.
We're there with college students. We're there with doctors, lawyers.
Right. Just people who enjoy playing their
yeah.
instruments.
And it's a great release. We play on Sunday nights. We rehearse on Sunday nights. Now, obviously, we can't do every concert.
Yeah.
but
We can't do either of the ones this fall. It's
Yeah,
tough.
we had a children's theater performance for the first one, and this next one is the day that we leave for Midwest.
Yeah. So to miss both of the fall concerts, I usually really love the Christmas concert, so I'm bummed to miss that one. But.
It's a super fun one too. Usually, they also do a children's concert in February, and those are the most fun. They bus in kids from all over East Texas,
Yeah.
fifth
Kids
graders.
love it.
And we just have the best time playing for these kids. By the end of the day, I can't feel my face because we've done 3 full concerts.
Right. We do 2 for the kids, and then that evening we do the normally scheduled concert for the
Yeah.
community, and
Where we have to, be professional and not goofy and
which is
silly.
usually
and-
more music too.
Yes. And by the time we're done with that, I can't feel my face in a good way, I guess. But finding opportunities to do that, there's opportunities all over the place. But don't be afraid to make your own opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, even like playing at church.
Yeah.
I mean, if you enjoy playing your instrument, but you don't have like an outlet, like a community band, just offer to play at church or.
And a lot of these
something like
bigger,
that.
I call them Six Flags Over Jesus, these
They have
huge churches,
orchestras,
they have
yeah.
orchestras.
We have a tiny
So,
little church, so we don't. I mean, we don't even have people in
no,
the whole church.
our
for an
normal
orchestra.
attendance at our church is about like 25.
Right.
And that's a big attendance. And there's 5 of us in our family. So I mean that shows you how small our church is. We love our church, but it's a small congregation. Now we have 10 musicians in that. I
We
mean,
do. It's a lot.
we have a lot of
musicians.
student musicians too, and they play. Some play piano, some play their instruments, some sing. I mean, we've got a lot of musical talent in
Well,
our
2
church.
of them are at Interlochen Arts
Yes, I'm
School
extremely
right
jealous.
now. Yeah, so we lost 2 of our musicians, but they'll be back probably in the spring.
I hope so. They're very, very sweet and absolutely wonderful. I love to listen to both of them play. It's important to look outside for things to do that sort of get you out of the house.
Find a hobby.
Yes, any hobby is
It
fine.
doesn't. Yeah, it could be something you even do inside of your
Yeah.
house. Like, I mean, I enjoy arts and crafts. Like,
She does.
I will occasionally like find a project, and like I just kind of get obsessed with it until I finish it.
This
And
is true.
That's just something that's an outlet for me. Like,
Mhm.
and it takes my mind off of the things at work that are maybe heavy on my mind, and gives me something else that. And for me, doing things that I'm 100% in control of helps me, because my job, I put all of it in the hands of the kids, right? You go for your concert contest and you've done everything you can, but at contest, it's what you've taught them, and you're relying on them to remember everything that you've told them. And so it's kind of putting the success in the hands of the kids. I like having something that I'm in control of, that
Yes.
I know is 100% on me, and I'm not relying on somebody else.
And if you ever get bogged down, remember, these are 13 to 18-year-olds that hold our careers in their hands. And some days are up, some days are down, because teenagers are teenagers, and you can't control what's going to affect them and how they're going to be affected. Now, you can give them tools to deal with those things. And I think that's a big part of what we do. It's not about teaching them just music. It's about allowing them to see things in different ways. And I think keeping hobbies alive outside of school and talking to them about those things, even if it's reading. Hey, I read a good book. Da, 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 da. That conversation goes in our office all the time. Michelle reads all the time.
I read more in the summer than I do in the school year, but
Mhm.
I do enjoy reading a good book.
I am not a
If I-
voracious reader.
If I read during the school year, then I don't sleep, because like that's when I have time to read, is in the
Yeah.
evening, and then I just can't put the book down, and so it's easier to just. So like during breaks, like during Christmas break, I'll probably read 4 or 5 books.
Yeah.
During spring break, I read
And
4 or
I am
5
still
books.
reading Bill Nye's autobiography that I started a year and a half ago. I read in little chunks, like 1 sentence at a time. But that's a great discussion point for a lot of students, and it creates a bond too, because you're going to have students that do lots of different things, and really anything. Both of our boys are runners. At one point in my life, you wouldn't think to look at me now, but I was a runner.
I've never been a runner, never desired to run. Running is not cool.
I think running is very cool.
Well, I mean, when I'm doing it, it's not cool.
Well, yeah. When I'm doing it now, it's not.
So when Aiden and Noah do it, it's
Whenever,
cool.
yeah, they're like huge. I mean, they're 6'3", and they weigh nothing. They're just tall, skinny, lean muscle masses, and that's something that's healthy. Going to the gym, being physically active, is a great way to help get your mind in a good place.
Yeah, the gym is great for just getting out frustration and anger and just kind of letting things go.
Yeah. And that's probably something we've kind of been on a gym hiatus for a little bit,
Yeah.
but looking forward to getting back to it now that we don't have
it gets
maybe
hard
morning
around
rehearsals.
contest time.
It is, because you're doing your best to also something else. This just hit me. Don't stay at the school if you don't have to be there.
Right.
If there's no kids, leave.
Right. Well, and we generally have like a 5 o'clock deadline. Like we're going to leave. If we're still here at 5 o'clock, we're leaving at that point.
Yes. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. If we have a night rehearsal, we do our private lessons. And yes, we are a 2A that does private lessons. It's not as complicated as you would think finding teachers is, but you make connections and network and you find them. But so on Wednesdays, I stay till sometimes 5:30, sometimes 6. But Michelle is gone. Like we both don't stay.
Right.
Typically, if somebody has to stay, it's me, and I'm okay with that.
Right. But then that just means I'm coming home and getting dinner ready, and
Which I'm also okay with. I like to cook. That's another thing too. Is cooking is a great way to get in your mindset.
Cooking stresses me out. So
see, I love to cook. I love to cook.
I'm afraid I'm gonna poison everybody.
Sometimes I think that's the only reason Michelle married me is because I like to cook, and I'm pretty good at it. I'm pretty decent at it. I think so.
I'm passable, but I'm not going to be on a Food Network show anytime soon.
Michelle does bake, and she does lots of really good baked things. And so Christmas time is we eat a lot of baked things at Christmas time. But finding that thing that's going to get you some release of stress is important. Sometimes it's having boundaries, creating boundaries.
Sure.
Parents will text you or call you or email you at all hours of the night. And it's not because they think that you're approachable all the time. It's because that's when if they don't do it, they're going to forget.
Right.
If you get an email, that's when that parent had that epiphany and said, I've got to send this email. That doesn't mean you have to respond at 2 a.m.
Exactly.
Because their schedule is not your schedule.
And I think it's fair to say, like, if it's not school hours, don't feel like you have to respond. Like, in our school, we have a 24-hour thing. Like, you need to respond to the parent in 24 hours.
Yes. That's a good rule.
You can still do that the next school day, That's part of the 24 hours. So I tried not to. I remember my first or second year to teach, I got an email from a parent, and it was the weekend, and it really got under my skin. It made me so angry, and I let it affect my entire weekend. And when I went back to school next week, I told the head director about it, and he was like, "Why'd you check your email?" He's like, "I don't check my email over the weekend. Just make that your rule. You don't have to check your email over the weekend." And so at that point, like, I'll like look at my emails, but I won't read them unless I feel like I need to. But I definitely don't respond over the weekend.
See, and I'm not as good about that. You know that little icon that pops up on your apps that says you have so many whatever emails and that little number? I like to not have that number up at all. And so if that number pops up, I check it and make sure that Michelle's number right now on her phone, if you're keeping track, says 149
on my emails.
Mine has 1. Hold on, let me take care of that real quick. It's my Venmo transaction history for the month of September.
Was not apparent.
No, it was not apparent. But I have to keep that clean, and that's my little bit of OCD. I don't have a lot of OCD, but I do have a little bit of OCD. If it's an email that gets me hot under the collar and I get angry, I do my best not to respond.
Yeah, Josh needs a good 24 hours.
I do. I need a cool off period because I will type it and I'll have Michelle read it and she'll go, "You can't send that."
We do that a lot too. We double check that stuff. Like, we'll type an email and say, "Can you read this to make sure I'm not coming off as a jerk or I'm saying what I mean to say?" And
my emails, I'm like, I don't know. I always read my emails with sarcasm.
Well, and you also read emails that way from other people, which
do.
Sometimes could cause problems.
And phone calls are my favorite way to communicate because I can usually diffuse a situation pretty quick.
Yeah, he's got a charm about him that helps people cool off.
And something else with parents is you just have to understand that they want what's best for their kid. And because they're parents, and I speak as a parent, we think we know everything that's best for our child. And we want our child to have the best possible success. And so they just care. So an angry parent a lot of times just cares, unless you put your foot in your mouth and said something that you need to, apologize for. And I do. Eating crow is part of being an educator, I think. Sometimes you don't mean what you say, but it comes across.
Said it anyway.
I said it anyway, All that to say, when I was younger, that happened a lot. It doesn't happen near as much now because I have those releases if something makes me mad in the course of a day. And sometimes that one kid will get under your skin and you cannot let the child win. You have to be able to go home, relax, do something that's going to give you joy. So find your joy that's outside of the band room. And I know there are a lot of music educators that it's all about what they're doing in the band room. Like they go home and their whole life revolves around that. If you can do that, I don't know that I'm jealous, but I have a lot of respect for you. I can't do that. We can't do that. Now, do we talk about band outside of the classroom?
Sure.
All the time. I mean, we work together. We teach together. We'll spitball ideas about rehearsals and how things went for the day, but we're still going to do other things with our kids, with each other, to get out there and sort of make ourselves a complete human. If you listen and you haven't liked our Facebook page or haven't checked our Facebook page, we're going to put a thread up about what you do outside. What do you do to keep yourself centered and to keep yourself productive outside of the band room? Like, what do you enjoy doing? So please feel free to comment and to let everybody know, because your insight may be eye-opening for someone else. I always ask people what they do outside of teaching. If I meet someone for the first time, a lot of time I already know what their teaching background is, because you meet people, things, you network, but I want to know what people do. Do they garden or pickleball? Pickleball. Pickleball. Yeah. I look at,
such a funny name. Are they talking about running? Are they a runner?
Do they work out? Do they
CrossFitter? We used to do CrossFit.
We did. We used to do CrossFit, and I actually enjoyed it. I did.
It's hard, but it's fulfilling. I mean,
it was
probably the strongest I've ever felt in my life.
And also the hardest time sitting down and getting off the toilet I've ever had in my life.
I think we were just sore all the time.
We were just sore all the time. And as most CrossFit people tend to do, we love to talk about it. Yeah. Oh, I'm sore because we did this at CrossFit. Or I remember working out with all the men and being like, man, if I hurt this bad and I'm the worst, how much does the best one feel? Like how much do they hurt? Whatever your thing is, be sure to find that feed, comment on it, and so we can maybe we'll talk about it in one of our future episodes and give you a little shout out on it too. So we'd love to hear from you. We hope that sort of gave you an idea as to some things you might do, or some things to think about, maybe some brain food around this Bandtober contest season that is among us.
Most importantly, take care of your mental health.
Yes, mental health is the most important thing, because you're no good to anybody if you're not good to yourself.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Little Bandology. Reach out to us. Find us on Facebook at Little Bandology, or email us. Drop us a line at littlebandology@gmail.com.